not already, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook to get the latest information and, of course, our latest promotions that we may be promoting at that point in time. This webinar is going to focus on the newest email and collaboration solutions for healthcare. And as you can see by this first slide, Office 365 is just that. So Microsoft spent some time in trying to figure out what the most common issues were amongst the healthcare industry. And they found these four to be the top issues. We need easy access to patient data for consultations. So essentially you're looking for anywhere access. The need for doctors to maybe be in a consultation with a new patient and needing to pull data maybe from, it could be a different area of team or organization in the hospital, and you're just needing to pull that patient information and not being right beside a computer each moment of the day, and having that anywhere access can certainly slow you down. That next issue they found, we need a central file share for collaboration within our organization. So you're looking to be able to work together. Of course, not all healthcare practitioners are always doing the same thing at the same time in the same area. So the ability to collaborate and work together is, of course, a common issue found in many industries, but especially within healthcare. Just as you are working with a lot of common patients in different departments. So needing to be able to work together and have collaboration access is, of course, a need and a desire for the healthcare industry. So we need to protect private information and simply simplify the log-on process for our staff. Of course, in healthcare, the last thing that you want to worry about is making sure you know how to log into each program that you may be using or application. And of course, taking the time to teach and train each of your new users, or as you build into your programs or applications, new pieces or new web parts, whatever it may be, you're always looking for something that's going to be easier to access and, of course, to be able to collaborate on together. But really just that ease, that simplified ease of knowing exactly what you're using without having to spend hours of training and relearning how to use something. So we need predictable and efficient cost. Who doesn't, especially at this time? In healthcare, I understand that there's tons of issues going on all at a moment's notice, especially with billing and, insurance coverage and stuff like that. And so the need for efficient cost and predictability in cost when it comes to your IT infrastructure shouldn't be something that you need to worry about when you've got other issues going on in the background, of course, with cost and efficiency. So Office 365, of course, is geared to make that easy and make it predictable, and that way you're not having to spend time on unnecessary things. So essentially, of course, it's looking for the best value. So Office 365, as I mentioned, this webinar is going to go through the new email and collaboration solutions that are specific to your industry, and to make sure that we hit on all of those topics. I'm going to go back through those first 4 points that we just went over, but just to make sure that you're making the right choice. Of course, you want to be able to have a familiar, setting of Office and, IT infrastructure. You're wanting, of course, a business class email. You're not wanting to do something that's very general and not very secure. And as I mentioned before, wanting to be able to share documentation or collaboration with other doctors or other departments, maybe in the same hospital, or, even in a private firm, just having access to documentation or needing to supply documentation even for certain doctors. You need that. And of course, web conferencing, giving you the availability to be anywhere and have a conference or a short call, with clients or colleagues. So like I said, we're going to drill down into all 4 of these and what makes this best, what makes Office 365 best for your organization and especially for the healthcare industry. So anywhere access, patient information. With Office 365, you can centralize and save all patient information securely within SharePoint, so you can access them from anywhere. Case portfolio, pictures, and pictures are available to all of your people who have approved access. As you can see in this little icon or to the right of the screen, you see a snapshot of a SharePoint site and a mobile device. It looks like it's a Windows phone sitting right there beside, and it's supposed to show you how easy and how common the mobile version and the actual web browser version of SharePoint Online is in being able to navigate and see something clearly as you go through your mobile version. Even if you're offline, you can sync SharePoint Workspace to keep cached versions of your documents on your laptops. You can transform documents into wiki pages and SharePoint lists, so you don't need to install Office for everyone. I know there's certain users, of course, in maybe your firm or organization that needs access to Word and PowerPoint and Excel and things like that. And then, of course, there's others that don't need any of those applications or programs whatsoever in their day-to-day job. OneNote for meeting notes can easily be synced to case portfolios for everyone to easily access. Like I said, if you're a new patient, maybe taking some notes, or the nurse or the doctor's taking a few notes in OneNote, and then you just simply upload that into your SharePoint site, therefore easily syncing, and then throughout the course of that patient's, history with your organization, you always have that OneNote file to easily go back to, edit, or change. So, of course, in healthcare, you're always wanting something secure. And of course, the Office 365 email is very secure. Many healthcare practitioners need to access information when on the road or maybe at a customer site. Because Office 365 uses SSL or secure socket layer encryption, you can securely transmit data to and from any location. As you can see to the right of the screen, this is kind of showing you the Outlook web access version in an internet browser. So this is your Exchange Online or your Outlook, as well as you can see on that mobile device, again, that Windows phone, you can see that email is pulling the exact same information in an easy way to read. Now, Office 365 is not specific to Windows Phone, of course, because it's a Microsoft product. They're going to, of course, advertise those products beside, but of course it syncs with your BlackBerry, Android, mobile, Windows Phone. All of those are accessible, so it's not just specific to Windows Phone, as you see in that image. So, shared calendars. With Office 365, people can access calendars through Exchange Online and their mobile devices. Like you had just seen previously, that mobile phone clip right beside that Outlook was to show that email. Now, you get the exact same thing with your calendar. However, the difference with the shared calendars and email is you're not going to be able to view other calendars as well as you would be with your mobile device. Of course, you can still view your calendar as fully functioning and full information, notes, links, all will be still applied in your mobile version of your calendars, but as far as sharing those calendars, it's a bit more restricted. with keeping your phone connected to Outlook Calendar, you can keep track of your next appointment, set up new meetings, and send, maybe one-click I'll be late messages to people when you get maybe stuck in traffic, or maybe you're held up at a different appointment or consultation. With Office 365, you can see presence of your colleagues and even your clients from anywhere. This screenshot to the right is Link Online. This is, of course, what we're using right now for the meeting. But you can see that Link is also on your mobile version. Just like as I showed Exchange Online and SharePoint Online, of course, Link is included as well. Now, Link is actually a phone app, so you would go to whatever mobile phone device that you have, maybe go to that app store, and you'd purchase Link 2010. It's a free app, of course, but of course you have to go in and download it. So in the background behind that phone, you can see the Link actual desktop or tablet or laptop version of Link Online. Like I said, it is what we're using now for this meeting. In this image, you can see that there's a voice and audio call. Voice and video call, excuse me. You can see that two people right there are communicating via video, as well as having an instant message chat, as well as sharing information. Right now I'm sharing a PowerPoint presentation, but later in this presentation I will be showing my actual desktop. You can even create polls or create a whiteboard. Maybe you've got to brainstorm with a few colleagues, and this would be a great area to come back to and use it for those types of meetings and types of collaboration, especially when you're not in the exact same area. For more structured meetings, you can set up an online meeting, just as we're doing now. You can easily join online meetings from anywhere using OWA or that Link mobile app like I was talking about. And you can use Office 365 to find contacts for specialists. You can search contact information, such as cell phone numbers, using your contacts in your Outlook. So we're transitioning into working together now, or collaboration. Each practice may be different. So when it comes to sharing and wanting something that's very similar to that normal desktop application that you may be using, Office 365 provides Office web apps. So as you can see to the right, this screenshot is of SharePoint Online again. However, this is SharePoint Online with Office web apps and editing a document using, it looks to be Excel. And as you can see in that, you have a perfectly normal ribbon as you would in Excel or Word or PowerPoint to that top. A great thing about SharePoint Online is that 3 to 5 second refresh. So as you can see in that bottom right-hand corner of that screenshot, it pops up with the little box right there. And I understand you probably won't be able to read it, but that's right there showing the presence of who may be in that actual document editing, giving you the ability to edit and collaborate on documents such as this Excel file with others. And then Link Online integrated with SharePoint Online is going to show you that presence as far as who it is. So that probably says, it looks like Ben and Michael are in that document editing. With Office 365, you can share information with people inside and outside of your office without having to sacrifice security. Specialists from different organizations can work together who wouldn't have been able to work together at all before. Using Link Online to bring people together from different locations into one online meeting can really benefit those past issues. You can share documents, of course, how I said earlier, with whoever you want. Through role-based access control, you can maintain control over who has access to what information. And rather than require additional licenses, you can provide access to external experts or specialists or technicians through just a simple free Windows Live ID. Once they review the information within a virtual meeting, for example, they can share their advice and then close the connection. So rather than a role-based access, you provide a limited time access, just for that user for that particular time. And again, to that right, that screenshot of, again, is of course Link Online. It looks like a video call, also sharing content or maybe a PowerPoint presentation, as well as instant messaging. Which brings us, of course, to our next point in working together or collaboration. With Office 365, you can instant message people through your mobile device, like I said, using that Link Online application, as well as instant message through that actual Link client. As you see now in our Link client, you can do any type of instant messaging there as well. In this screenshot to the right, it shows the on-desktop version of Outlook, and it appears to be that maybe they have seen that someone that they received or sent an email to is online, or rather because of that red line beside their face. I know that they were probably in a meeting or says to do not disturb. You have the ability to go into Outlook, be chatting via email, maybe about a common issue or exchanging information. And if that link or if that person is using Link and your organizations are federated with one another, you can see that presence and go ahead just from right in Outlook, click to chat or click to video or click to instant message. So it really gives the availability through all of your applications to view the presence and also to communicate with them directly at that moment's time, rather than having to click back through different applications, close things out, minimize things on your desktop, whatever it may be. This gives you access to do it instantly from exactly where you started from or where you ended. So, familiar experience on virtually any device. Like I said earlier, Office 365 is not specific to that Windows phone. As you can see to the right, it's showing a Windows phone, iPhone, and it looks to be an Android. All three are using their Link Online application, and you can see it's a bit different between each of them, but for the most part, you get the exact same interface as far as you see their presence. You also have the ability to join those meetings, create new chats, and see, of course, your schedule as far as online meetings. Tools that work like the tools you already know with, helping to save time and training. You get email, of course, for in Exchange Online with 25 gigabytes per mailbox. You're looking at quite a bit of storage in Exchange Online. Plus the availability, like I said, to go from Exchange Online, see that someone is in Link Online, and go ahead and just click to chat with that person right from your Outlook applications, or as well as SharePoint, as we had seen before, someone editing a document or multiple people collaborating on a document in SharePoint Online gives the availability to one of or both of those users really to go in and see, oh, okay, Mike's editing as well. Let me talk with Mike before we both start editing and make sure that we're on the same page. It gives you the availability to work on all of these platforms and all of these solutions seamlessly without having to do any type of infrastructure, reorganizations, and development. So moving into Easy IT, Office 365 exceeds essential security requirements for your business, providing multi-virus scanning engine engines built into Exchange Online that deliver up-to-date antivirus and anti-spam protection through filters. And companies that don't employ on-site IT staff, the healthcare industry won't have to worry as much about all of those malicious software issues, but rather focus on the efforts that they're there to do, work in healthcare and provide those services for those clients or patients. So with Easy IT or with Office 365, the ease of IT and antivirus and anti-spam is standard throughout any and all of those options of plans and packages. Healthcare practitioners deal with life and death issues and, of course, sudden emergencies. As a result, they may need immediate access to patient information for themselves, another department within their organization, or for consultation with a specialist on the outside. With Office 365, these organizations don't have to worry about system availability. Organizations end up with an infrastructure far superior to what they could have built or run themselves with Office 365. So instead of having to log on to your computer or device and then log on to each application, you get the same identity throughout, meaning really a single sign-on for all services. For IT, this simplifies administration. For an end user, this simplifies and cuts out half the time that you've got to worry about logging into each patient information or each application before you start any of your rounds. They do not have to have on hand or be familiar with any documentation specific to one user. So basically any engineer can come in and pick up working with identity management right away. Traditionally, if you have an infrastructure problem or IT, you pull in a third party for your IT problems, or maybe you have an IT staff. The issues that you may have, you pull them in, and maybe they're not able to resolve it. Then the problem gets escalated to Microsoft or directly to that provider, and you would have to receive a ticket and then work through the issue. Well, that's in the past as far as Office 365 goes. Office 365 subscribers don't have to worry about monitoring their solutions. Instead, their subscribers get global 24/7 IT dedicated support. And what I mean by dedicated support is if for any reason there are any issues with your solution or any of the solutions in Office 365, you have a dedicated IT support team for specifically Office 365. So rather than going in and having to call in and then create a ticket, and then as the issues or the calls start coming in from Microsoft or whoever that support team is, having to go through that entire process in that length of time. With Office 365, you have a direct number and you have a direct process of ticketing if there are any issues. A great thing about Office 365 is the fact that it's in cloud, and which means that a lot of issues that you would have never even noticed or come across have already been resolved because Microsoft team is constantly working to make sure that you're getting the best and most efficient solutions. That way you're not having to focus on IT issues when you have a different job. So, of course, everyone, like I said, needs the best value during this time. Wanting a low upfront cost, predictable cost, knowing exactly what you have as you have it, and always staying up to date is, of course, those initial ideas and the best value for how they built Office 365 and what those online solutions mean to the end customer. So minimal upfront cost. No hardware investment is required for Office 365. So no need to pay that upfront 6 to 12 grand for that new server or upgrade a server. You eliminate associated server maintenance, of course, when you eliminate those. No need to pull in that third party or have your IT staff focusing on server issues when they've got other issues to be focusing on and using their time more productively. Office 365 is based on services that are familiar to your workers, which of course means that you don't have to spend time and money in getting training for those end users. Office 365 are those general office products. It can include, of course, those office applications such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and OneNote, but it's not specific to those. Office 365 also includes, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Lync Online, as well as those Office products like I had mentioned. So all of those are pretty general that everyone already pretty much uses, so it's not a very different interface, and so you don't have to spend any type of time or money, like I said, on those training services. And like I mentioned before, everything's built to work together. Since they're all cloud solutions, they're all Microsoft solutions, you don't have to worry about, making sure each of your tools are collaborating together and having to go through and spend time and, of course, money for the IT to build a common infrastructure that everything is coexisting and working together. That's already been done in Office 365. So it's not just low upfront costs, but also low ongoing costs, because unlike other services that require third-party add-ins and hidden costs, you don't need to spend additional time and resources integrating point solutions. With Office 365, you get predictable monthly costs with a variety of available plans, of course, based on what your users require. A subscription of Office 365, either the Plan E3 or E4, includes a subscription to Office Pro Plus 2010, giving you access to the latest Microsoft Office productivity suite without having to purchase licensing outright. Another great thing about Office Pro Plus being involved in Office 365 is that you have 5 available downloads. What I mean by that is, in general, when you purchase Office licensing, you're given maybe a disk or a code that enables one license to one application of that Office suite, or maybe it's specific to Word in Office or PowerPoint. Whatever it may be, is generally you're giving a license for one particular user and one actual license of that. With Office 365, you're given 5. So for each user, they have 5 available downloads of that Office Pro Plus, if that was the plan, of course, that you went along with for that user. So that means that if they have a laptop, if they have a desktop as well, maybe a tablet, a mobile phone that can support, and maybe an at-home computer, maybe a desktop or laptop at home, they have the availability to download and put those on desktop applications on all 5 of those. Of course, with predictable pricing, no hardware investment is required for Office 365. You get the latest enterprise tools, including business class email, without having to invest in a server or infrastructure or upgrade. One thing I do want to add about Office Pro Plus that I had forgotten is that not only do you get those 5 licenses, but you also get the availability to have constant upgrade. You're always getting the latest and greatest version of that Office Pro Plus from here on out. Once you sign on and you keep that type of subscription, you get, whenever 2013 comes out or whatever the version may be, you're getting that latest and greatest. So you're not just stuck with one, whereas if you buy a license outright, you generally have that 2010 and that's what that CD and what that code goes to only. You don't get the updated or upgraded version. With Office 365, you do. Per user license. For healthcare organizations with seasonal staffs, such as a volunteer ambulance service that requires, additional volunteers during a summer concert series, or, maybe a winter fest or whatever it may be, there may need to be additional license for that temporary person or that temporary staff hired. And with Office 365, you can pay only for the services that you need. For per user license, you have the availability to have, that temporary staff, or maybe you have interns, and you don't need that license for an entire year or for, even 6 months. It can be even 6 days. With Office 365, you have the availability and accessibility to go into that admin console, add a license or delete a license or make the license different. Maybe you change their subscription to the E2 plan rather than what they had on the E4. You're able to do that with Office 365 and their cloud solution with per user licensing. Simplified per user rather than per device licensing means less time spent tracking licensing and more options for, of course, your end users. Always up to date. When it comes to technology, healthcare organizations and professionals don't like change, nor do a lot of industries. This is, what Office 365 also wanted to focus in on. Always giving you the availability, of course, to the newest and the greatest of Office products or SharePoint. And like I had mentioned before, with that Office Pro Plus, with your Exchange Online, with your SharePoint Online and Lync Online, you're always getting the newest, the best versions of those Office products. And you only have to go into your admin portal and click download, and it's just as simple as that. So now that we've gone into each of those available features, as far as, access anywhere, easy IT, better collaboration, and of course, predictable cost, now we're going to go into the actual Office 365 suite or online solution as I use it in my office, as all of our employees do here. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my my desktop with you, and I can kind of go through the actual Office 365 solution and kind of show you and give you a familiarity with what the actual product looks like. Like I said, we've already gone over those. Let's see here if it'll load. We've already gone over those points, so let's go ahead and start looking at the actual application. So I'm going to pull my link meeting over real quick so that you can see my desktop. Okay, so all I did here was click on Internet Explorer. I have my home page set that it goes straight to login.microsoftonline.com, and I, of course, have my normal username, credentials saved in here. Of course, I've got to type in my password. So let me log in real quick. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, this is my Office 365 portal for me. Whereas you see partner here in the top center, you would generally see admin, or there would not be anything there. Since we are a Microsoft partner, of course, that is why I'm seeing that partner tab. As you can see also in the center, you have easy access to your team site or your SharePoint site. You have easy access to your Outlook or your OWA. And of course, this home, of course, brings you exactly to where we are right now. You can also drop down to the left part of the screen, or the left-hand side of the screen. You can see Outlook, Lync, and Team Site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with Exchange and Outlook and kind of show you the interface and how common it is for the actual OWA version and the actual desktop version of Outlook or Exchange Online. So as you can see here, I've got inbox and then I've got folders set underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and click into our Twitter. This automatically, of course, lets me know if someone's following or there's new stories, or of course repost my general email, but this is just specific to my Twitter feed. So as you can see in Outlook here, or this OWA version, you can see that I went to my inbox, I opened up the folders. These are all personal folders that I have created in Outlook, as well as you can see below here, it goes to your drafts, sent items, deleted items, and right below that to the left-hand pane is conversation history. So I'm going to click on that just to give you an idea of what exactly it is. So this is an outgoing call, or where I asked an employee here at Eastridge, I said, what's the address to the Eastridge dashboard? And he was able to provide that for me. So maybe you had gone through a conversation and you had had one of these instant messaging chats, or maybe you had called or had some type of conversation with other employees. As you can see here that there's different names. And you said, what was that link that they had sent me at that one point in time? Great thing about Outlook and, having that OWA as well as that desktop version, you can go to that conversation history associated with your Lync Online account, go to those chats and say, oh, okay, there's that link that I was looking for, or that's the information that I needed, or maybe it's an attachment even. But you're able to go back to that conversation history and find that information. Now, as I had talked about before, I'm going to click back to that Twitter feed, or that inbox for my Twitter. Now, as I had mentioned before, actually, let's just stay on that conversation history. It seems to have a slow upload right there for that meeting. So in conversation history, of course, I'm able to go through my conversations. If there's any information that I've forgotten or needed to go back to, that's one thing. As well as I had mentioned before, for Lync Online, going to any of those applications and being able to see the presence of someone using Lync Online as they collaborate together, you're able to go to that person or click on that person, and it says, his present is red right here beside, and as you can see, it gives you a pop-up that says busy. Now I can instantly message, I can chat with Nick, I can send an email directly from here, I can schedule a meeting even. So this gives you the availability, remove from your contact list, add to contacts, as well as if you had Lync Online and those phone services available, we would be able to dial his actual office phone, or maybe a mobile phone if he had set those restrictions in his actual Lync profile. So that gives you an idea of how easily Lync Online is accessible in any of those cloud applications that you use. So again, this is the OWA. one thing I do want to click on real quick before I move on is the calendar. This is in Outlook Web Access. Now this is my calendar. Now I'm going to show you a shared calendar. So this is with 2 employees here. Chris seems a little slow to load here. So Chris's calendar will pop up here soon. And as you can see, all of these calendars are for the week. If I wanted to go by the month, I can go, of course, to this top center as you would in your normal Outlook application and, change those views as you'd like to see them. And so this gives you the availability to share calendars. I'm going to go back to that mail now. Okay, again, this is Outlook Web Access. Now I'm clicking on my actual Outlook application on my desktop. Again, my inbox, I can open up those folders as we did before. I'm going to open up that cells, and I'm going to go back to that Twitter. And as you can see, it's the exact same as we had first seen in the Outlook Web Access version. Again, that conversation history is there. I'm able to find whoever it is, see that they're in a meeting or that they're busy. I'm able to email, I'm able to instant message, I'm even able to call or maybe share some content. You can see that OneNote is integrated into your Outlook as well. Therefore, if maybe you had collaborated with someone using Lync, you can export it to your OneNote and keep it in there as a file. And again, let's go to the calendar so you can see that. And here again is the shared calendars. And I can add another here. This is now adding Corey Peters to our shared calendar. And you can see that he seems to be a bit busier than the rest of us. So there's the calendar. Here's the email. Again, they're the exact same. They're syncing constantly. This is the Outlook Web Access version, and that was the on-desktop version of Outlook. So let's go back to that Office 365 portal. Another thing that I'm going to show you now is Lync. So here is my Lync client. As you can see here right beside the face at the top, it shows a red line with a white line in between it, which reads, "Do not disturb to others." You also have the availability to maybe say, a lot of us kind of sometimes periodically work from home or work at a customer site, whatever it may be, and you can provide that, just general insight right here on what's happening today. So I'm just going to type Lync meeting. Well, it'd help if I could spell, couldn't it? So, and from there, it's just going to show the presence of me and exactly what I'm doing now. So it looks like Kara's drowning, so I believe she's probably in over her head with a lot of work going on right now. Nick, he got a new laptop, so he posted that information there. And as you can see, with certain people, there's green showing that presence, and it means that someone's available, or maybe someone's in a meeting, or someone's busy. And you're able to add users. Now, Todd does not work within our company. Todd is actually a Microsoft representative, but we, of course, are sharing Lync information. I'm federated with him, so I can see that Todd's offline. And he can see that maybe that I'm online or that I'm in a meeting and to not disturb me. But this gives you the availability or the idea that not only are those just in your company able to have access and chat with you using Lync Online, also those using Lync Online that are federated with your company can see your presence as far as IM chat and documentation as far as sharing goes. But specifically to Lync Online and specifically to the end user, you can of course invite outside users, as I am right now having this meeting with you all. So that's Lync Online. Of course, as you can see here, one thing that I want to show you real quick, it does the exact same thing in Outlook. Again, you can click on that person or hover over and say, email this person, I am this person, maybe voice or video call, as well as share information or schedule a meeting, share information, whatever it may be. Okay, so back to that Office 365 portal. So next thing that we're going to do, or that I'm going to show you, is SharePoint Online. So here is the Contoso Healthcare site. Now this is a lightly branded site that has been formed specific to for healthcare in your industry. So this kind of gives you an idea of how simple it can be for SharePoint Online. I'm going to click back real quick to that Office 365 portal. I'm going to click on my team site that's specific to me. Now this gives you an idea of what SharePoint Online is out of the box. For those of you who do not know exactly what SharePoint is or are not familiar with it, SharePoint Online gives you the availability to have an intranet, an extranet, and a public-facing site. Now the breakdown of those is an intranet. So something that you want to log into, maybe it's your company intranet where, like I said, you are sharing patient information maybe with different departments within the same organization or hospital. And you would want to only do that through the intranet. You wouldn't want there to be external access to that. So an intranet would be ideal for those healthcare, patient information documentation. An extranet, however, is going to be that external site for collaboration. So in general, you probably use an extranet for maybe labs, and you have patient information or folders on this extranet for patients that maybe you've sent off lab or blood to be tested, and you have this lab go into this extranet as they would log in and supply the information or upload or download the information that they needed based off of the access you gave in the beginning. So an extranet is something that it's like online banking, the best way for me to explain it. As you log on to your bank through the internet, you see your information that's specific to you in your accounts. The same thing with an extranet. It's the exact same idea. You're logging on as an external user to specific information that's documented for you or placed there for you. And that's how you can form that extranet. Like I said, maybe you have technicians in labs that are having to upload maybe test results or blood results into that site. And like I had mentioned before, you don't have to have per user licensing for your extranet. Rather, it's just a free Windows Live ID. And of course, you can have specific licenses in SharePoint Online for maybe certain users that do need more availability and control in SharePoint than your typical just extranet user who goes in and downloads or uploads information. Whereas the other type of extranet user would need editing availability. And of course, your public-facing site. This is general, any site that anybody can go to as a public-facing site. So again, intranet is something that you work internally with, maybe your organization, maybe it's file information, or maybe it's just documentation as far as templates. And then you've got the extranet, which is external users that want to maybe come in and share information, upload or download. And then, of course, you have their public-facing site. So that pretty much covers SharePoint Online. And I'm clicking back now to that actual lightly branded site. So again, we came from an out-of-the-box SharePoint site, and now we're on a lightly branded SharePoint Online site for specific to the healthcare industry. So Office 365, SharePoint Online, intranet, extranet, public-facing site. In once you sign up for those accounts, your SharePoint Online account is allotted 10 gigabytes, and then for every user that you add into that account or that has access to your SharePoint account that's not an external user using just that Windows Live ID who actually has Office 365 credentials for that SharePoint site, you're allotted 500 megabytes in addition to that in general allotted 10 gigabytes. So for every user, you add 500 megabytes to your total SharePoint Online storage. So let's get into the actual SharePoint site. Like I said, they tried to do we did a general branding. This way you can kind of see information as you need it, not necessarily a ton of things going on and distractions. This is just purely information that you need specific to that moment in time. So as you can see, you can go to announcements. This may be something like a message board. And as you can see, if you just wanted to add a new one, you're able to click there. Add information or add a title. Maybe it's Susan's birthday on Saturday, or maybe you're having a Nurses Day party at conference room 3 or something like that. So you're able to post announcements as if you would send, just general email announcements. You're able to post that here where everybody logs into on a daily basis. Now, as you can see, as I clicked on announcements, a ribbon toolbar popped up in the top. So this gives you the idea of being able to browse and give you editing abilities in SharePoint as far as the interface and how it looks and how you're using it. This says right here, email a link. So this is something I would use for an extranet user. This may be a team site that I've created and I say, I just want to share the newest announcement. I can click on that and email a link to someone, and as long as they have a Windows Live ID or they go in and set one up for free, they can have access to that specific SharePoint site or address that I sent them. As you can see, this is the calendar. In general, most SharePoint sites pull the personal calendar, if you set it up in SharePoint, of course. It pulls a personal calendar from your Outlook or your Exchange Online. And with your actual ability to share calendars, you can, of course, share the calendar. Maybe you have a department calendar for certain surgeries or scheduled surgeries that you need to place on a calendar so that everybody can constantly see it and it's constantly being updated. You can of course place this in SharePoint Online. So on-call specialties, as you can see here to the right of the screen, you've got a few list here. So map, it looks like latest updates to policies and procedures, my task, and then on-call specialties. So maybe this is like a list for on-call specialties. This is a list that you constantly have to update, or is constantly being updated as people are changed for the on-call schedule. This gives you the availability to be at home or on your mobile phone and go to your SharePoint site and say, who's on call today? David is, so I must not be. As well as, like I said, that calendar is pulling from your Outlook, and generally, when you set it up, if you place it on your SharePoint Online site, it's pulling your personal as well as my task. So any task that you may have in your Outlook or Exchange Online account, it's going to pull there as well, unless you set it for, maybe, like I said, that department. And then you can see here latest updates to policies and procedures. That's, of course, maybe templates or Word documents. You can, of course, add and update those. You can see when they were modified. And then maps. So this gives you an idea of maybe certain departments or certain actual chains of maybe your organization. Maybe you've got one in Bayside, maybe you've got one in Intermetro. This gives you the availability to, see where they are on the map if you wanted to enable that. As you can see, not only do you have that pane right there on the right as we just went over, as well as, those announcements and calendar in the center, but you also have a navigation to the left here. So pictures you can click on, and that's going to take you to another little sub-site where you can add pictures or create one. You can also just go to your libraries page. Maybe you need to see those updated policies and procedures where you see actual documentation recorded or placed there. I'm going to go back to that home page. List, of course, so announcements like we went over, those tasks, on-call, sites, certain things like that. Maybe shift X-ray or shift MRI. You have the availability to set up SharePoint Online so it's specific to your organization and what your actual needs are. Not necessarily for only an intranet, but also an extranet or a public-facing site. Of course, you wouldn't want this information on your public-facing site, but just to give you a general idea, a lot of it is manipulable and able to change around. This, of course, is that out-of-the-box SharePoint site. You can see it's very different. It's not set up the exact same. But with light branding going on, as you see in this Contoso site, you're able to edit it to the way that you'd like to see your intranet or extranet. So that in general is, SharePoint Online. You can, of course, add tabs like this. This gives you an idea of how to use links. So maybe Link is a new solution for your organization. And you can, of course, add wiki pages, as I said before, to information and how to. Of course, you can add a dashboard page. Or change your dashboard page. This right here is Excel. It looks like a document that's been saved there for a dashboard. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to edit real quick, and then we'll go back to the PowerPoint. So if I click here, I say open in Excel. This is going to ask me if I want to open this file in a read-only or an edit. I'm going to say read only. And so what it's going to do is it's going to open up that Excel file for me. And then it's going to ask me either to log in, or if I have my credentials keep me signed in, which I don't have clicked there, then it would give me, it would just suddenly pop up again. So I'm going to click Keep Me Signed In this time. We're going to sign in. That way it's giving me access to this SharePoint document. And so there you go. You see it as you would normally in Excel. And all I had to do is click in there and say edit the document. Now, if I wanted to save this document as is, or if I want to change it and maybe save a desktop version. If I want to save it as a desktop version and have something to go back to without having internet access, I can, of course, click Save As. And what it's going to do right now is prompt me for my credentials again, just to make sure that it's got the right user. So let's just say we'll save it to my desktop because I don't really need this. And so I would just save it there. Just give it a moment to load real quick. Make sure that it's transferring all the data. And then if I just wanted to click Save, maybe I just updated it. And what it's going to do is it's going to update that version in my SharePoint Online site by just clicking Save. Now, right now, I'm going to go ahead and close out of Excel, and I'm back to our Contoso site. So I'm going to go back to that home page. So again, that's editing a document, being able to pull it onto that desktop application as you would normally, or you can even edit it in the internet browser using Office web apps. So let's get back to the actual PowerPoint, and that way we can finish it up. So that concludes pretty much the demo of Office 365. Give me one moment here. Okay, there we go. You should be seeing my screen again. Okay, there we go. It looks like it's back up now. Okay, so Office 365 provides the flexibility that every company needs, and specific to those industries like healthcare, information workers, or maybe nurses, kiosk workers, so maybe a lab tech in a different facility, or remote workers, even doctors. Doctors are not always on site, so having the availability to go into that information from not being in the office, you have that availability with Office 365 and those cloud solutions. Let's give it a moment real quick. It seems to be a little slow now joining back to that PowerPoint. See, there we go. Okay, so every business is, of course, unique. They wanted, I think Microsoft did the cloud solution in Office 365 in a way that is very unique and not like other, cloud solutions or any really business solutions. I think that they made Office 365 available to every industry and every type of size of company, whether it be one person or it be 8,000 users within a company. As you can see here, these are the plans. There's enterprise plans and kiosk plans, as well as a small business plan. The enterprise ranges from $8 to $22 per user. The difference between the E1 and the E2 plan is Office Web Apps, so being able to edit a document in SharePoint Online. The difference between E2 and E3 is going to be Office Pro Plus, so those actual desktop applications and those 5 licenses of the Desktop Pro, Office Pro Plus, as well as the advanced capabilities in SharePoint Online and Exchange Online. So those advanced capabilities, Exchange Online in general is 25 gigabytes per mailbox. Now, as an admin or someone who needs access or control, you have the availability to separate that type of storage into maybe one user needs 5 gigabytes of email and then others need, 30, 40, 50, whatever it may be, you have the availability to do that. So when the advanced features of SharePoint, the advanced features of Exchange Online, you have the availability to unlimited storage or personal archive, as well as voicemail. And then in SharePoint Online, you have Access, Visio, and Excel services. So someone who's a bit more rehearsed in SharePoint Online would want to maybe, utilize those advanced features. And then, of course, the difference between the E3 and the E4 plan is going to be voice. And voice requires an on-premise server, a link on-premise server. Kiosk plans. So maybe, like I said, you're a lab technician and you don't necessarily need, you're constantly working with a hospital or another organization, and you need to be able to constantly share information back and forth between maybe lab results or something like that. So not someone who just comes in once or twice a year, but someone who's constantly, checking that information, or maybe works at an off-site location, but doesn't necessarily constantly need access to Exchange or SharePoint. You can go with one of those kiosk plans that ranges from $4 to $8. And the difference between, of course, the 4 to 8 is Office Web Apps. So not every company needs a packaged plan. So like I said, those were the 4 enterprise plans as well as the 2 kiosk plans, and there is 1 small business plan. But for those users that are not needing a package, like I said, I think Office 365 was geared towards all sizes and all different types of industry. So Microsoft made it so that you can get any of these pieces of the cloud just as individuals or as standalones, as well as put them in a package and get a better deal for those. So maybe you just need email, and that's available using Exchange Online P1 or P2. So in general, you see that most of the standard versions of Exchange, SharePoint, and Lync are $4 to $2, and then the advanced features are $8 to around $6. And of course, you can get Office Pro Plus and those Office web apps as well if you just wanted SharePoint and you needed that access. So again, these are the standalone plans. I'm going to click back real quick. These are the enterprise plans. Again, it ranges from 8 to 22. The kiosk plans range from 4 to 8, depending on what exactly you need. And of course, those standalone plans are just individual online solutions that you can purchase. So, of course, we want you to make sure that you have all the information that you have. And, of course, understanding the features and the security and support and having that actual IT control is something that we went over here in this webinar. And, of course, something to explore afterwards is going to be, migration and all of those partner solutions that partners can help provide. So the last and final steps, the last slide of this PowerPoint is, schedule a free IT assessment. Start a free 30-day Office 365 trial. You can even request a quote. Like I said, you want to look into getting migration information or integration information. And of course, you can do all of those through Eastridge as a Microsoft partner. Of course, contact me and I'd be happy to set up an IT assessment or get you started on a Office 365 trial. One thing I do note to my customers is make sure you know what you're wanting ahead of time before starting a trial, just because that trial can be a small business trial, and then you say, man, I think I'm going to go with the enterprise plan instead. That transition or migration from that one cloud server to another is very difficult, just because those are totally 2 different types of servers. So do keep that in mind. Make sure you have an idea of at least what you want to eventually be on before you start a trial. And of course, if you want to look into migration, if you call me, we'll set up an appointment, of course, kind of go through what your current environment is, and then I can kind of get some background and some information and then hopefully form a quote for you if that's what you're interested in. And of course, if you're just wanting additional information, of course, visit our website, www.eastridge.net, and look into what we do, or maybe Office 365 or Windows Intune or any of those cloud solutions, as well as, SharePoint on-premise services that we provide. Again, if you're not following us on Twitter or Facebook, be sure to, and hopefully you'll get the latest and greatest information and promotions. Thank you all for joining. My name is Alexandria Arney, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.